Banger.
What, baby?
All right.
Feeling hot.
Cheers, fellas. Beers and bets.
Beers and bets.
We're going to take an early look at the NFL offseason. I'm more focused on the NFC,
man,
for my own reasons.
We've been snowed in.
Yeah. How much snow did you get there in Kansas City? I think we got about 8 inches, I would say.
We only got 4 or 5, and they were saying 8 to 12, and it wasn't even close to that.
Man.
The roads were never that bad. I drank about fucking, 10 or 11 beers Tuesday night, preparing for calling everybody in the morning, telling them we weren't going to work because it snowed.
Oh, and you had to go.
And I woke up and walked outside for a cigarette.
Yeah.
Damn, there ain't fucking shit for snow out here, man.
Yeah.
I can't call off work for this. So
yeah, you can't be the guy that that would have been, you would have hooked everybody up, but they were all probably as pissed. They're like, why'd you jump the gun, man? Why'd you send it out early?
And you guys know me well enough to know that I wanted to call everybody and tell them we're not working today. Everybody's going to stay home and it's going to be a snow day.
Yeah.
It just wasn't
you can't
justified.
Well, they'd be like, what? I need to make money, dickhead. And there's nothing out here.
Screw the Kansas City weather people.
Well, hey, who got dumped on worse? Like the people with the snow here in St. Louis, like because it is pretty deep here, or Bucks fans on Wednesday afternoon finding out that greatest of all time is retired. Not
maybe.
I'm sick of this bullshit with Jordan or Montana. Those arguments should be over, right? Are we fair on that?
Best team sport athlete of all time.
Of all time. Yes,
can't really be debated. You can try to pull some Bill Russell argument because he won 11
That's
titles,
about the only one,
but he wasn't as essential.
Well, he's not even referred to as the GOAT in his own league. So
right,
we can't throw him up then,
He'd be like the 5th guy eighth guy that you would even think of, not even. But
as for your Bucks thing about how Bucks fans felt,
I
wanted him gone this offseason.
I know.
So other Bucks fans might feel differently. He got us the one Super Bowl. He was going to get us.
What's your logic there, though? Because
he was a good mercenary.
He was playing fantastic this year.
Not in the playoffs.
You think you're going to find somebody better than Tom next year?
I have
Who
ideas.
are you going to replace him with?
You won't get somebody better, but you could get somebody different, and other parts of the team are going to have to do a better job next year.
Jameis was different. How'd that work?
God, if you say Jameis, I swear.
No, Jameis
is off the table. If it was me, I'd like to just give it a shot for entertainment value. But Jameis is off the table because, as far as we know right now, Bruce Arians is the coach. He has come very close to having heart attacks because of Jameis Winston. There's no way he's going to bring him.
Well, that's just like Boba Fett with that thing.
I got ideas, but we're going to save those ideas for the player movement part.
Definitely. But I just had to, because that.
Yeah. So other Bucks fans might feel sadder than I, but I mean, he brought us a Super Bowl. Great. He was a perfect mercenary. He did a great job, but moving forward, I'm kind of ready to go back to the old Bucks. Like they're my Bucks again. They're not Tom Brady's Bucks. All right. So that's how I feel about it. That's how
Tom Brady's Bucks are who won the Super Bowl. So you better hope that.
Yeah. The only reason he signed in Florida.
Your Bucks are the creamsicles. That's your Bucks.
Yeah, that's man. I don't know, man. You gotta, whatever. It remains to be seen because you're gonna I just had to go through it with Peyton Manning when he left after we got that Super Bowl, Well, so we'll see here, but I'm telling you, I wouldn't rip. I'd be not so quick to rip on Brady and say that it wasn't just him because Gronk wouldn't have been there, and AB wouldn't have been there, and Fournette wouldn't have been there, and I think all 3 of them had touchdowns in that Super Bowl last year against the Chiefs. So it's like that is a huge. Without him, they wouldn't have been there. And there was, and also you
without all the existing Bucks, Brady and those guys wouldn't have been there.
He wouldn't have gone there. Brady wouldn't have gone there. Fair enough. Yeah. But also, dude, you bring up him in the playoffs. Well, him in the playoffs was once like Godwin was out and AB lost his fucking mind. You know what I mean? So like that wasn't really the team that he had around him when they were in the playoffs. He was, trying to throw to that fucking your boy, the white dude.
Yeah, if that's Jameis at quarterback, you're coming on with all kinds of excuses why it wasn't his fault. But because it was Tom, we just expect him to overcome it.
Fault. And he almost did.
In my opinion.
He actually almost did, man. But the Rams tried getting that to him.
He did it because the Rams gave him like 6 opportunities to come back.
He still did it. I mean, that throw to Evans was still, that'll be the last throw maybe, probably ever from him and for a touchdown. And
Evans fucking roasted Ramsey. That was
he burned the best, but Brady beat the best corner in the league on his final touchdown pass. So that's what I think it makes sense with him going out. It's like he wanted to just say, you know what? I don't want to go out like Ben, man, where you're falling apart halfway through. You're embarrassed.
I got to give Tom Brady a little bit of credit. I did like how much appreciation he showed the Bucs and the Bucs fans.
He didn't say anything about the Patriots.
Yeah,
he said nothing about the Patriots, man. Yeah.
I mean, that's why you go to a great organization like the Bucs, somebody who's had a history of winning. That's why Tom Brady goes there, right?
See, I've heard that's part of why he's leaving though too. Is the Bucs' history is not so good. Their team locker room is not doing so well.
And
that's bullshit.
And
that's
he didn't want to deal with any of that. How do you know? We're not in that locker room.
Because I watched all the post-game interviews of players crying and saying how great the locker room was.
Yeah.
No, so I'm getting it straight from the source, and Brad's like, well, I heard from nobody in particular.
I'll trust I'll trust people that follow the team for a living and get paid for it over you and your interpretation
of clickbait guys.
Interviews.
You like the clickbait guys rather than listening to the players that were actually in the locker room?
No, a locker room.
Players never tell the truth, right?
That locker room,
they're always just
Well, in my opinion, that locker room is going to be a lot different when you don't have the GOAT in that locker room. So, like, who knows what that locker room is going to be like when he's not in there? They didn't all. Those players thought he was coming back, dude. They weren't all in there thinking, okay, he's gone, we're good. And like with their fucking cap issues, like they're not gonna. That locker room is going to be a little more empty next year. No, like they're not going to
even takes a good chunk off the cap.
That helps. You're right, but like they also are gonna. I mean, they're gonna have weird. Who's gonna want to come back if he's not going there? Gronk's probably gone. I know you love Brady, but it's like that's not Gronk. Gronk is like the guy in the big games that makes the plays, man. So. Yeah, that it's going to be different.
I wonder if it changes Godwin's interest too.
Oh, Godwin's going to go get paid, man.
So
Godwin's going to get
it's kind of.
We'll talk about him later too, because I got ideas of where I'd like to see him end up. I don't count on Godwin being back with the Bucs. That's another thing we'll save for later.
Because they have a lot of other needs, but pretty much if you sign Godwin, that's probably the equivalent of what Brady was getting paid.
Close to it.
I would have
within 5 or 6 mil probably a year. Right?
But we can get on to the positive shit of Brady though.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. No, the Bucs thing, it's interesting, but
we've spent enough time about like in specific with his time in Tampa because that was 2 of his 22 years, right? So we don't need to spend our large portion of time talking about Brady and the Bucs. So let's take it here. Let's go favorite Tom Brady moments, and then from there we'll kind of narrow it down into more specific questions of moments in his career. So, Brad, I'll throw it to you first, and we'll kind of just bounce around here. Bring up a moment, bring up your top moment or one of your moments with Brady.
Yeah, I'll bring them back. My top one, and it's easy because it's best comeback ever in Super Bowl probably, but being at that game too in Houston, coming back down 28-3. What was it? I think it was 5 straight drives where they scored. James White was crazy. The Edelman catch. It kind of had a little bit of everything in it.
2-point conversions, man, out the ass.
Right. It was one of those weird games that like only Tom Brady finds a way. And to be in the stands, you can almost kind of like once it got to those like that second drive where they scored, you could just like sense half the stadium just clenching up. Like here he comes again. Like, oh shit. And that's like I would say there's like a million examples earlier in the career of crazy comebacks too, but I think that's what I'll remember him for is just like no lead is safe with him.
True. I'll cross that off my list because I had that as one of mine as well. We probably all did, but my memory from that game is I'm at a college friend's parents' house because they cooked a bunch of food and we went over there to drink and eat for that Super Bowl. I'm wearing my work done Falcons jersey, just, for the fuck of it. That's who I'm pulling for that day is Atlanta. And Atlanta gets out to that big lead. And I'm not that excited because I don't have like a true interest in the game. But I'm like, man, at this point, at 28-3, I'm like, man, at this point, I hope the Patriots just score a couple touchdowns,
make it a game,
make it close,
right?
Yeah. And then like it gets later and later in the game, and the parents are giving me shit. They're like, Matt, you fucking jinxed them, man. The Patriots are going to come back and win now, and of course it happened. And what a crazy Super Bowl!
I was watching that game with Shaky, and I bet him at halftime. He said at halftime, "I'll give you 10 points." No, he didn't even give. I think I just bet him money line. I just said, "Hey, Patriots are going to come back and win. It's Tom Brady. Don't count him out." He goes, "Dude, it's over." And I'm like, "All right, dude, whatever. $10. Let's just fucking." We were just watching it, eating, wings, and I'm like, "Dude, you are a curse." Like, dude, it's crazy. But like, they started coming up, and and he's like, they're coming back, and he's like, "I can't believe it." I'm like, dude, just dude, I wouldn't have bet with anybody but you, Nick. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so thank you, Nick. He's a listener, and I know why. He'll love hearing that one. He loves when I bring that one up. But yeah, dude, that's a fair one. That's fair.
Yeah, because if we bring up Tom Brady 20 years from now, it's hard to without going into that game a little bit, right?
Yeah, hell, dude, you have to, man. Yeah.
All right. So Jimmy, that one's off the board, the 28-3. Which one are you taking? Yeah, of course. He's going to go with the AFC Championship. Where Brady threw a pick that was reversed by an offside.
Well, how many times has Brady thrown a pick but then rebounded in a big game? I mean, how many times have we seen that? Every single fucking time, dude. He's done that in huge games against Atlanta, like you guys said was the biggest game. Dude, against that team, he made mistakes, but they actually were 14-0 at the beginning. I fucked that up in the podcast a few weeks ago. It wasn't 21-0, it was 14 at halftime. And so but dude, he's always kind of done that. But like Brad said, he has that knack for coming back. And on that, when they got the ball in overtime at Arrowhead, man, and all those fans paid however fucking much, and it's 5 degrees, and they're calling it Tom Brady retirement party before the game. And they had all that hype. And dude, they come all the way back. It turns into one of the greater games, like really ever of Brady's career, I would say. Like it even had more epicness, in my opinion, than that Falcons game, just because it was like outdoors. One team had the home field advantage. It's not a Super Bowl. It's like, dude, but dude,
there were some huge plays in that game, like the Edelman thing that Edelman
missing the ball. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And but dude, him going down. I mean, he had 3 3rd and 10s, or one was a 3rd and 9, but it was right on the edge of 3rd and 10. It's like, dude, completions in overtime on that drive. They got the ball, and it was like, Slater was like, "We want the ball," and it was like, yeah, because they're about to do what Mahomes did against the Bills. But yeah, man, like that one to me was the happiness, dude. And it's a close second with that when he came down 10 points against the Seahawks with 10 minutes to go in the Super Bowl too. That. But again, it goes back to just the comeback kid, like the guy that never count him out, man. And people talk about Montana and shit like that, and it's like, dude, Brady.
Yeah. Well, that game's almost cooler, like not even for the Tom on the field memory, but almost just for the reaction on the Malcolm Butler pick.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That has a bigger
exactly. Jumping and screaming on the side, like I'll remember that more than the actual game.
Because he didn't
do the pick at the one.
Yeah,
and then him just going nuts.
Him screaming, and then actually like kind of jumping up, and like Garoppolo's behind him, and Garoppolo looks like, yeah, and he's trying to like give him a hug, and Brady just goes and hugs McDaniel, and Garoppolo's like, yeah, like looking around for somebody to hug because nobody went near him. Everybody went to like Brady or somebody else. Right. Garoppolo's like, okay, it's like. Poor Adam Sandler and Waterboy when he's like, slap hands, nobody wants to touch him, man. Yeah.
So did you have one more other thing on that, or should I jump in?
No, you're good, man. What do you got? Well, what's the best Brady?
The best personally for me is him winning the Super Bowl with the Bucs, but that's too chalky, so I'm going to go elsewhere first. All right. I'm going to go with the 2007 undefeated season, which unfortunately ends with the loss to the Giants. but still crazy to go undefeated all the way to the Super Bowl. And then even in the Super Bowl, yeah, the Giants defense gets after them. They don't do a whole lot. But at the very end of that game, I remember that bomb he throws to Moss, dude. And he throws it about 80 yards in the air. And it ends up landing where it would have hit like Moss's helmet, and one of the Giants defenders gets a hand on it. But if he gets just like another half yard out of that, they could have thrown like a 80. It would have ended up being like a 90-yard bomb to Moss to win the game. And it was like, if you go back and watch the replay, it actually is like,
I know the play you're
legitimately
talking
close,
about.
dude.
I've
like
seen
when the
those
ball's
games
in the
a
air,
lot.
you're like, holy shit,
Right.
Moss might get that.
He did a similar thing to Gronk when they lost to the Giants the second time.
Yeah.
Gronk dove for it on a Hail Mary. It wasn't like a streak. It wasn't a route where he's hitting
and the ball got behind the defense.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, on this one, it was more a Hail Mary. So it was like the one you were talking about is like, it was more of a streaking route. He was hitting him in stride, right? But like not, this one was just kind of into the game, lob it up. But Gronk had that fucked up ankle and he tried to dive for it. And it was like McLovin.
Get out
it was like super bad when Evan doesn't catch the bottle of vodka, on the bus. But yeah, but keep going with that.
I'm just sure all the Giants fans watching that game were probably holding their breath when that ball's in the air because they're like, oh shit, it's Moss. Brady really launched the crap out of that ball.
Yeah.
It had a chance. It had a chance. And it would have been, if that catch is made, like, I mean, we're talking about, it's hard to talk about him in any of a like sort of greater way than we are now.
Yeah, right. Like
just to have an undefeated season in a full length 16 game season, go all the way through the playoffs without losing, and then close it off with an epic Super Bowl win that ends on a 90-yard bomb to Randy Moss.
Yeah,
it would have been sick.
Yeah. I mean, because I
remember impossible with him.
Those drives, he got sacked really bad on that final drive one time, and he might have got sacked on fourth down too. But I know that he and like two throws he had, he stepped into them just completely and just launched. And it was like, God, you can see a dude giving it everything he has, and it's like, God, that day, I think Plaxico Burress called the score that day. He was like 17-14 or whatever. And Brady made the comment, like, we're only going to get 14 points. Okay. And it was like, dude, that was at media day. And it was like Strahan was like, that really resonated with us. That stuck with us, or whatever. And it was like,
that's a decent Strahan voice.
That was terrible.
All right. So Brad, full circle back to you. What's another moment you want to touch on?
I got to go with him finally beating the Rams when I hate the Rams. Super Bowl 53. I mean, because it was kind of a game I liked. Like, it's not for everybody. It was
defensive,
kind of ugly defensive game. But that kind of, to me, like that Gronk pass that got him down to like the 2-yard line, where he literally, it's like almost triple coverage that he kind of drops it into. And it's just like at that point, that's a duo. It's kind of cool that they'll both go, I think, to the Hall of Fame. Kind of as such a legend, that they stuck together for all.
They
Super
better
Bowls.
put their bus next to each other. Find a way, right? They should be.
Well, and
Gronk
if he walks away now too, I would think that would put him on. Because man, that'd be a cool Hall of Fame ceremony to have Gronk and Brady at it
together. They probably will. I do know. I remember Brady saying, and this was like halfway through the season, that Gronk joined the Bucks. Gronk did seriously consider joining the Buffalo Bills in that offseason before he joined the Bucks.
Yeah.
So maybe if Gronk still thinks he's got a little bit left, Buffalo, because he'd have fun playing in Buffalo with Josh Allen too, right?
Oh, he would. And I think he's so established now that, like, I think that's probably what the appeal that brought him to Tampa is like, well, with Tom, I know I get my off days, I get rest here and there. Like, they're not going to ask me to be blocking 80% of the time. And I think the same thing would go in Buffalo with how established he is.
Right. Yeah. If you're that much of a vet and you've proven your worth, like, you're not going to get forced to practice on a daily basis throughout the week. It's the NFL is kind of like that everywhere for the most part, with the exception of like your what's the fucking Giants coach, Judge. He is not accommodating to the older players. There's a handful of like asshole coaches that are just like my way. They
usually don't last long,
and it doesn't work anymore.
It never works, man. Yeah, it's like the dumbest way to. Yeah.
I mean,
All
they
right.
about rioted in Jacksonville with some of Coughlin's rules. You remember before they basically demanded him out? It's like shit doesn't
Coughlin's
work
out of his
anymore.
fucking mind, dude. Yeah, that dude doesn't understand anything.
Yeah. So, Jimmy, back to you. And you mentioned you've touched on a little bit like trying to ask the question, what was like the best game he played? Like for you, was it that one against the Chiefs you mentioned prior, or is there another one you have in mind that might be his best?
The best game that he's ever played? Fuck. Because like I have one here like highlighted, but it's the game against, but it's like the opponent. Like, so if I'm gonna go best game, that's more of a tricky thing because it's probably just one of those random ones during that 07 stretch.
Oh, you're thinking statistically?
Undefeated, yeah.
Yeah.
But in the snow that year, when they did the football life on Belichick, it was a fucking blizzard that came out of nowhere. And the day before, Belichick got his guys out there on Friday to practice in the elements because it was going to be as close as it was going to be. He's like, yeah, we didn't really get it today when they're out practicing. He's like, but you know, we might as well get out here and you know, Brady's talking to Belichick. He's like, yeah, it's good getting it a little, and now you know we'll feel a little bit of what we're gonna get. And then on Sunday, dude, there's a blizzard that blew in October. And Brady had 5 touchdown passes thrown in the first half
against the Titans
and the second quarter
against
and
the
one
Titans,
quarter.
right?
Yeah, man.
Yep.
And to me, you know, that was when they had Moss, they had Welker, they had Kevin Falk still on the team. You know, he caught one. And you look at performances. I mean, look at that weather. And before he's mic'd up going, this is a quarterback's dream out here, baby. And Belichick's like, I think he thinks Brady's being sarcastic. And Belichick's like, yeah, they won't be able to pass rush you for shit in this, though. And he's like, yeah, I know. You know, and he's like, yeah, actually think about it, Brady. Like, go light it up, dude. What are you doing? And yeah, that's so. Well, yeah, best perform. Yeah. Man, that one's tough, dude. I mean, just whatever. I'll go with that one. Yeah. But his poise overall as a leader in the tuck rule game, even I know that he got lucky as fuck and it was wrong call.
Yeah.
His drive against the Rams in 01. You know, there's just a lot of times where you're like,
I got a weird one for you for best game. How about in the Super Bowl loss to the Eagles and Nick Foles? When he throws for 505 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had to light it up to just keep them in the game that day. Because between Nick Foles getting lucky and just being on fire and everything working.
Strip sack cost the game. And that is where it would be. That is, you know, I got to like discredit that a little on that because that's on him. You got to hold on to the football in that situation. So,
yep.
But yeah. That wasn't I lost money that day, so that game sucked.
Yeah.
But yeah. I didn't parlay anything, man. Maybe I should have because that seems to be, you know, the way to win the big bucks. But
yeah, you gotta have at least
3
bets locked into together. It's no fun betting one thing. The thrill isn't the same.
So when did Brady become like? When did you think he became Brady? Like, start with Matt or whatever. You know, when was it like it's not bullshit anymore?
I think after because he won basically his first year where he came in as a backup, right? And then they didn't have a good year the next year. And then they came back and won back-to-back after that, right?
Yes. Yep.
So I think he didn't become Brady until he had 3 Super Bowl wins and then lost 1 or 2 Super Bowls, right? Because he kind of saw what it took to get there and win. And then he saw what it felt like to lose. And that I think after losing a couple Super Bowls, because there was a stretch where they were kind of like cursed for a while, right?
They went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he didn't get one for another.
They went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl. Yeah,
and I think that's when he becomes Brady, when he had to really work his ass off and like take his preparation and the health shit that you didn't hear about until later on in his career.
Yeah.
He started just taking it like a 24-hour a day job.
Yeah.
And it was after that stretch where he hadn't won for a while. So I think that's when he became the Tom Brady that we're going to remember him as.
What do you think on that, Brad? Because I got a point, you know. But
I'm going back to that Super Bowl 38 when he came back on Carolina. You know, it was like, because that was one of those where, good old RIP Madden is saying, oh, well, you got to just – run. It was like 1:08 left. Got to just run this out and play for overtime.
That was the Rams game, right? That wasn't Carolina.
Panthers.
That was I misquoted. That was the wrong quote. Yeah,
Rams game was when Madden
But
said that. That was
the
the Rams.
Carolina one is where I truly thought, because it was, a quick comeback. It was 2 passes to Troy Brown, one to, I can't picture it, but it was another Vinatieri 41-yard
Fucking kicked it out of
game
bounds.
winner.
Sean Casey kicked it out of bounds.
And that's just to me when I was like, okay, this isn't just a fluke from the Rams year getting lucky. Like now he's starting to, once you do it a few times, like you saw it with some of these young quarterbacks, they get so confident then, and maybe like Mahomes a little too confident, but I think it makes a huge difference. Once you've been there, you just tell, like the preparation, the calmness.
Yep. It takes, I mean, and
I think I was quicker, I think, to, even though I hated them at the time, I was quicker to think like, oh shit,
and
this is gonna be good.
I remember in 8th grade, they beat us in the Rams in 5th grade. I remember being in 8th grade, being over at our buddy Justin's house and just watching. It was the Steelers playing the Patriots, and I think Ben Roethlisberger was playing in that game too. But it was at that point I was just like Tom Brady, like this kid, like he's good. Like this dude is a kid. Fuck, at that point I was probably like, this guy is fucking really, really, yeah. But now what? But Matt, what were you going to say? Because I'll tell you my point too. On that.
I was going to say, I think you got to give some credit here to Brady having to conquer Peyton Manning on a yearly basis for being part of the reason he had to get as good as he is, because he knew he needed to beat that guy, right? If he doesn't have a rival like Peyton Manning,
then
Belichick
same with Belichick though.
Needed to beat that guy.
You can find a quarterback built, or not a coach built for the postseason, along with Brady. Just perfect duo.
But I'll tell you guys, man, in my opinion, it really was when he fucking beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, because all the bullshit had been out there about Spygate and all that shit. And they lit it up, with the Giants. Then they lose the Super Bowl. Then Spygate comes out and that whole bullshit blows up, and he doesn't win another he loses that one. Then they lose against the Giants again. And it's like, God, I mean, at that point he hadn't won without the 3 Super Bowls that we know they had fucking footage on. They were doing illegal shit. We never got the picture, like the videos, because they destroyed them, which probably is a bigger indicator of how fucked up what they were doing was, because like the NFL didn't want us to know, because then they'd have to go take rings away from people. But it was like once he came back, then during that, the week break in between the Super Bowl to play the Seahawks, the Deflategate comes out. And they're getting asked questions about all that shit during that whole preparation. He goes against the Legion of Boom, who's coming off a Super Bowl win against Peyton Manning and one of the best offenses of all time, after Peyton had one of the best years of all time. They have more confidence than any team, any defense we had seen, going for another win with Chancellor, Sherman, Thomas, Bennett, like the whole, Wagner. I mean, and Brady is down 10 points in the Super Bowl and comes back and wins a game. And that's the first quarterback to be down 10 in the fourth, or team to be down 10 in the fourth even at that time, and win the game.
Yeah.
And it's
the
like
Chiefs have done it since in recent memory.
Yeah, just
sorry to sidetrack you.
Bullshit. God damn it. I was doing good there too, man. I had a lot of good points, and you just fucking threw me. Fuck Andy. Go home.
That is because that sort of ended like the stretch where it seemed like they were cursed, and the league was like out to get them on shit.
And they went,
unless you were a Pats fan, everybody hated the Pats, right?
And on that first drive,
fuck
dude,
you. I hope they lose.
Exactly. And on that first drive, he goes down right down the field and throws a pick to number 20, I think it was, in Seattle at the time, and I can't think of the dude's name. And the dude got injured and was knocked out for the game. But he threw the pick in the end zone, one of the worst throws ever. And it goes back to Brady. He does the worst thing to fans, man. The Falcons know all. Dude, he fucks up for a sec, and you're like, okay, dude, we got him today. And then, 2 hours later, you're like, what the fuck is going on, man? Like, what happened? Yeah, I don't know. He puts that in, it's fucking But that was when he became, I think, to me, it shook off all the bullshit about Spygate. It's like, you know what?
Something you said made me think of another thing. He might be the best quarterback at having a bad day and then still finding a way to win at the end of the game. That's
something
the NFL's tough, man. You're going to have some days where the defense has just got your number. But there's been so many Brady games where that's been the case. And then in the last 2 minutes, he finds a way to pull it out. You know, what's happened the first 58 minutes doesn't matter anymore.
I mean, even what he did for your boys a couple of weeks ago, you know, he like got you guys a chance. Like,
yeah, I'd say the Rams gave us a chance, man, because the offense wasn't
fair enough. But
great.
I mean, he's still the guy that has to make the plays to, you know, get the points to give him a chance.
Yeah, Cam Akers has to drop the ball.
Yeah, a couple more times, man. Yeah,
fucking snap over Stafford's head.
Dude, what the fuck was that, man? Yeah, how was that?
I was convinced that with all those things that were happening, I was like, yeah, we're gonna fucking do this, man. And then when it didn't happen, it was like just big on like, fuck.
Dude, on the fucking on NFL Network, I want to go through this real quick. It was a top 10 Brady games. Now this came out right after he beat the Falcons, so this is old. They're gonna have to probably redo another one because I'm sure some of the Chiefs game has to be added. Top number 1 or number 10. We're on to Cincinnati. So the game where they beat Cincinnati after that loss at Arrowhead, which I thought that's weird, right? Yeah.
The Bengals shouldn't make the top 10.
Number 9, beating the Bills the first game after he had come back from tearing his ACL, like the first home game. But again, that was a Belichick because the special teams ripped a fumble out at the very end of that Monday night game against the Bills. And it's like somebody said,
I'm questioning this list already.
Yeah, right, dude. This is NFL Network, dude. Yeah. Right. And so, but somebody said Tom Brady's beating the Bills so bad or so much that I'm surprised PETA isn't calling him or something.
Yeah.
Like that. I thought that was pretty good.
It's a good
job.
But
number 8 was them beating the Ravens down 14 twice in the divisional round of the 2014 year. And then the win against the Panthers was 7. Brady in the snow having 5 touchdowns, 6. Win against the Broncos down 17-0 was 5. Malcolm Butler game, Tuck rule win, the win against the Rams, and then the win against the Falcons. So it was like, dude, that just was rushed out because he came back 28-3, right?
It seems like they were trying to like scatter and hit like different parts of his story because those aren't the best 10 Brady games.
It was like the importance, like they all had like little clips on why they were important.
Not the Bengals and the Bills ones for
me. Dude,
all 7 Super Bowls should be in there.
Yeah, right. Like what the fuck does that even mean? Has he ever won a blowout in a Super Bowl? Like he's always
not
been
really. Not that I can. No. I mean, the Bucks one was probably the most like
convincing. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It just never felt like that because of Mahomes. But yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I was never like comfortable until the fourth quarter.
Like now that he's retired, I'm glad that he went there and kind of proved a point that he's skilled enough to win one outside of New England.
Not just Bill.
Right. You know that.
Right. I agree with you. If I was the best at if I was the best in my field of work, I would want to retire with the best organization in that field, right? So why wouldn't he want to retire?
Is he gonna sign a 1-day? Is he gonna sign a 1-day contract and go?
I'm sure he will eventually.
I would think.
I'm sure he will.
So he's gonna retire with the best.
He's too busy. I was making sure. He's too busy.
I was making sure he's gonna retire with the best organization.
No, but he would want to end his career in the best place possible, right? So
and that's why he's gonna. That's why he's gonna sign that 1-day.
I said career. I said career. All this retirement ceremony shit.
Yeah, he's in no hurry to do anything.
No, we're not. I think we can go. We got a little more time, man.
We did. We have spent a lot of time on Brady, but he deserves.
I think
right.
We're not just. We're gonna hope. We're gonna get into. Wow, that was coherent. We're gonna get into more sports talk, right? But if we're a football oriented podcast during the season, it'd be. We gotta talk Brady when this happens.
This
man.
Is
that ain't fair.
I mean, and the other way to think about this is he's like we've had Breeze leave. Eli's gone, even though he wasn't like the greatest of the great. He still won a couple rings.
I don't even know if you knew
Breeze, Roethlisberger, Eli are gone. All like the best quarterbacks from when we grew up are gone. Peyton, even though he left years ago,
he's kind of the first one.
Growing up,
he was one of the retired.
Best. Yeah,
still at a high level. Like both Mannings, Breeze, Big Ben. Phillip Rivers,
weird.
Like all those guys were clearly declining.
Like had shorter careers, and they were noticeably.
That's what's weird, dude. Yeah,
and I really thought he at one point would just keep playing until he wins another, and then end on that. But
I think
Yeah.
it just goes to show you having a coach like Belichick that understands the longevity of like how football works, and he knew to protect Brady. Brady got hurt one time, and I know, but 1 year, man. Other than that, dude, did he ever? Had a cold even. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know if
you
the dude
talking
coughs,
just the ACL or whatever.
Yeah, and that's just it
Yeah.
happens to everyone. You know, it was a bad hit. You know, it was a weird injury, but other than that, I think it goes. I think credit has to be given with that to Belichick, just knowing how to protect a quarterback for that long. Like,
I'd agree.
To have, like
I say
Well,
the
I think-
referees deserve some credit on that front as well.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Also,
dude.
Brady,
Yeah.
But he could
some
still
of
get
those
hit and
real
get a
lean
flag
years,
going
though,
on him,
some
dude.
of those real
Yeah, but
lean
it doesn't
years,
happen as much,
he was
especially the
quick
low hits.
getting that ball out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I
wasn't
mean,
always
Especially the
the
low
line,
hits like the one that hurt him. It
the
doesn't happen
craziest
as
thing
much.
about Brady, man, because we do well, we got like 3 minutes or two here, but
Mhm.
like
I got a good
Fucking-
trivia question on Brady before we roll out too.
the craziest thing, dude, is like without like that Tuck rule play, dude, Bledsoe might be if he fumbles that ball and that's a fumble, Belichick might say, fuck it, we're gonna go with Bledsoe go like next year.
Brady might not get a chance until he's on a different team.
That's what
If
makes
that
it so crazy.
Call
dude.
doesn't go that way.
And even if that happens, like who knows how that dude. Because
That's
again,
why sports are so fucking awesome.
yeah,
man.
crazy. 'cause
Yeah.
He started like the perfect game manager. Then he was like leading the league in touchdowns with Manny Moss. And then he ends being just like a good fucking quarterback. Nobody does that at that age.
All right.
Fucking cheers to Tom Brady.
Brad,
That's what I got.
Let's
Hell
wrap
yeah.
it up with the trivia question. Let's go. You can waste it now, right?
How
You can afford to
oh yeah,
waste
this
it.
is just
Yeah.
Tom Brady. You know, he owns every record. How many players do you think have scored at least 20 touchdown passes from Tom Brady?
Okay, so I got
Caught
Gronk.
at least 20 in his
You have
career.
options.
I got Gronk. I got
No,
Edelman.
I guess a number.
I
mean,
got
Gronk
Moss.
has over 100 of them.
I
if
got
that
Mike
helps.
Evans. I'm gonna go with 6. I'm because I counted
6,
4 on my
right.
hand, so I'm gonna go with 6.
I figured a number. It's too
Yeah.
tough, but you got to guess, Jimmy?
9.
Nailed it.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? Banger, dude. Yeah.
It was Gronk.
What?
I'm going in order here. Gronk, Edelman, Moss, Welker, Deion Branch, Mike
I
Evans,
thought Deion Brand. That's funny. And
James
I thought,
White, Aaron Hernandez, and then Ben Watson.
Aaron
rounds it out.
Hernandez.
Ben Watson made the
Yeah.
list. Damn. Holy
Oh,
cow.
baby.
remember
That
it.
trivia dominance
All
on
right.
that continues, baby. Let's go. Hey,
Cheers to
we're
the
about-
GOAT.
Yeah, cheers to the
Cheers.
goat.
All right.
Cheers to you,
We'll be
Tom.
back.
Thank you.
We'll be back for NFL offseason talk.
Hell yeah.
Cheers.